Welcome to the podcast. Yes, here's your host, Rob Elliott, and I have an absolutely fantastic guest. He's very different to a lot of the ones we've had before. Would you believe he's a haberdasherer? He's a men's coach. He's a brand specialist. And we're going to push the boundaries a little bit today because we have plenty of women, successful women actually, on our show. This gentleman is all about men being successful. Vaughn from South Carolina. Mr. Granger, how are you?
Robert, I'm excellent. Thanks so much for having me, man. I'm excited.
Mate, another one of our guests from the other side of the world. How is things over there in the States at the moment?
Well, let's see. I live in South Carolina, normally pretty humid.
Yep.
Starting to cool off a little bit. It's nice. Aside from a little bit of chaos, things are pretty good.
Mate, chaos is good.
Yeah. I mean, I thrive in it. I love it.
Yeah. So did you always live there or did you grow up somewhere else?
No. So I was born and raised in Columbia, South Carolina. Well, just outside of it. I grew up on a horse farm.
Wow.
I traveled a lot, but I've got some businesses in different places, but I live and call Columbia my home.
Awesome. So were you a good student or did you hide down the back of class and cause trouble?
I tried to hide as much as humanly possible. I say that I was a great user of teamwork. So I tested very well. I guess now I'd probably be considered ADD. And I had a couple of teachers that just wore me out, and it was fantastic. I went to the University of South Carolina on an academic scholarship.
Yep.
So school was easy, but I had a lot of fun. And always, after I went to college, I always had, I've been in business since I left for college.
What did you study at college?
I went as a finance major, and I took one class, and I'll never forget. I walked in, and there were 350 people, and the attendance was never checked. And
oh no!
I went in for like 2 weeks worth of classes, and never went back except for test day. I changed my major from finance to marketing and management. I loved psychology, consumer behavior, and I figured, business was kind of my deal, and had a minor in retail, and just, fell in love with it. My family, I'm a second generation haberdasher. So my family's been in the clothing business all of my life. And so I did a minor in retail, and about half of the classes I was supposed to take, I didn't have to show up for because I would tell them that I was working.
Yeah.
And they'd give me credit for going to work instead of going to class. Said, you're going to learn more there. So graduated in 2005?
Yeah.
So, wow. I don't know how I made it through, but I graduated with honors and still here to talk about
it. They talk about people with ADHD and they talk about creatives and all that. And school and universities still don't understand that they don't cater for people that are slightly different. Now, there was an article out of the States where they said companies are now employing people openly advertising with autism. And when they asked why, they said or dyslexia especially. And they said, why? And they said, well, one, they think different, especially someone with dyslexia. They can pull things apart very quickly. Autistic people, incredibly smart as a rule. Yeah, okay, they might have some behavioral challenges, but when it comes to task-based and doing shit, they absolutely rock.
No, it's fantastic. I consider it a gift, right? I mean, I see patterns that other people can't see.
Yeah.
And sitting in a classroom for 8 hours, it's really hard. But if you give me something I'm passionate about, or like a puzzle, a challenge, I'll stay there. I become obsessed. I'll just sit there for hours. I'll lose complete track of time. Yeah. And I'm like, oh shit, it's 2:00 in the morning. I gotta wrap this thing up.
So when they eventually got rid of you out of college, what did you do?
Well, it's kind of interesting. So am married to my high school sweetheart, and we went to rival colleges, and we dated all through school. But the deal was with my parents, if I got a scholarship, they would buy me a car and give me 6 months worth of living expenses as long as I kept my scholarship. So I go off and I got my little 6-month living expenses, and 3 weeks in, I'd burned all the money. I had spent every freaking penny I had.
Why doesn't that surprise me?
It's shocking, right? So I was like, well, damn, I can't ask for more money, but I will ask for a job.
Yeah.
So all through 4 years of college, I worked in our shipping and receiving room at the store.
Yep.
And sold t-shirts, bartended, waiter, all that kind of jazz. But then going into our senior year of college, it was all in one day. I went up to my parents. I had lunch with them. I said, y'all, I would really like to come work when I graduate, just as a salesperson. And they were like, Vaughn, please go be a doctor or an attorney. And I said, look, I've already interviewed them. I don't want to be a doctor or an attorney. I'm not asking for privileges, just a job as a salesperson. And they kind of pushed on me. And I said, look, either let me do it here, or I'm going to go work for a competitor. I really don't give a damn.
Yeah.
And they said, no, we'd love to have you. So, and I said, well, while we're at it, I think I need to marry Erin. I was like, she's really hot and she can put up with all my crap. I don't think I'm going to do much better. And so I called her father that day, met him at 2:00 that afternoon, asked if I could marry his daughter, and proposed that evening. So I figured,
oh, wow.
That was back in 2004. And all of those major life decisions. Now I have 3 kids and everything else. So as soon as I graduated on Friday or Saturday, I literally showed up to work the next Monday, like that following Monday. I think I might've had a weekend off, and I just started selling clothes. And then from there, I, became a partner and opened up other businesses and things like that. But I mean, it's kind of a non-eventful. I just transitioned from school straight into the workplace and worked 6 days a week in retail and kind of figured it out from there.
Mate, we're going to get into retail and haberdashery a little bit later. But first, one thing that I look at now, especially now we're coming out of this COVID mess where people have been walking around at home in shorts and a T-shirt and then throwing a business shirt on or a blouse if you're a lady to do a interview or work.
Yeah.
We're now coming back to whatever the new normal will be. Do you think, especially a lot of the younger people coming through in their early 20s, either haven't learnt the art or know the art of personal branding when it comes to who they are and how they present themselves?
Yeah, and I don't think it's limited, Robert, candidly to younger people. I think there's a lot of people that, I mean, when you see the unemployment rates and the resignations and things of this nature, there's so many individuals who aren't paying attention or they're not aware to the fact that they are their own business, right? So if you look at a household and the amount of money that a household brings in, that's a business. I mean, that's a substantial amount of income, all things relative, to manage. And so when you talk about a personal brand, if you're an employee, your number one customer is your employer. And you need to market to them. You need to, I'm a business owner.
Yeah.
So I'm always marketing to everyone. When I go out to dinner with my wife, I'm an extension of my business.
Yes.
So I don't care who you are. And I think that's one of the big things is I actually had this conversation with a friend of mine the other day that she was like, Vaughn, I think you could speak to a lot of younger people, back to kind of your point.
Yeah.
But just on how you present yourself on social media. And I think that's one of this technology, the fact that you and I can be on the other side of the world from one another.
Yeah.
And carry on a conversation with a smartphone. Why would you not be intentional about your brand?
Yes.
And be very deliberate in how you build it and represent yourself to the marketplace. And whether that's clothes or your Instagram account or your LinkedIn account, I think it's one of the most undervalued opportunities for most individuals.
So you do a lot of personal coaching around brand coaching, especially for men. And it's something that a lot of men do and they need. I mean, not enough, not even close. When someone first comes to you in his mid-30s, we'll just pick it for the sake, and he just says, man, I'm stuck. I can't seem to get jobs. I've had a business. It failed. What do I do? How do you handle someone like that? And what do you do with them to get them out of their rut and get them up and going?
The first thing is just getting them to be honest and real with themselves, right? So I think a lot of, and I'll stay away from politics, but people are, I think a lot of people have kind of dumbed down who they are and what they're about, like their real truth, right? And so I'm like ADD, and I have 3 children, two daughters and a son,
Wow.
and they're all very different, but we're all very unique. We've had personal, unique life experiences that have developed us into who we are, and there's no one else like us in the world. And I think we all have our own truths of who we're supposed to be. And we know that. And I think when most people take the mid 30-year-old that's kind of fallen back on tough times or lost the spark in their relationship or whatever that is, they kind of lost who they are. And the first step in any part of that process is like, what the hell do you really want? But more importantly, who are you and why do you want it? What does it mean to you? Because I want to reach success on my terms.
Yeah.
And I want Robert to reach success on his terms. And even though they're very different, they could look very different from one another. That's ultimately, I mean, you can have a huge impact on the world if you stay true to who you are and who you're capable of becoming. And that vision is very unique to you. So that's where we start. It's like, who are you? Like, really, not the dumbed down version that's afraid to offend someone or step on one's toes or please mama or daddy or the wife or the whatever. It doesn't matter. Just quit pleasing everyone else. Who do you want to be?
Yeah. One of the things we call it in sales is the bullshit meter.
Yeah.
It goes off within about 15 seconds.
Oh, and the bigger that, I mean, I do work with a lot of men, and I actually have a lot of female coworkers. I think women are actually better versed or better equipped to say what they think and say what they feel and are more truthful, whereas men kind of like you said, the bullshit meter goes off, and the first part is typically like that nice proverbial punch in the face where you're like, damn it, stop, you're lying to yourself, who are you? And getting through that, and then once it opens up, like, then you have to nourish that new life, if you will, of who the hell you really are, and start taking action on it where you are now, versus waiting until everything's ready to start.
I think the scariest I've seen, and I've seen him in real life, is Tony Robbins do it to somebody. And he did a one-on-one, but in a big crowd. And I tell you what, he's a big man, and he scared me. He absolutely tore this young lady apart, but then brought her back up. It wasn't all bad.
Yeah.
But he called her out for what it was. She basically was a daddy's girl, but she was blaming everybody else until he called her out. And you can see the whole body shift. Everything changed within her.
I've walked on coals. I've been to, I love it.
Yes, done it.
I have a Tony Robbins coach. I've had one for 8 years now.
Yep.
And they're fantastic at it. And you can literally, like you said, you can see the transformation visually when people get into that real energy, whether it's masculine or feminine. And if you haven't seen it, you won't probably know what I'm talking about, but you and I do. Yes. And anyone else, is when you see the transformation, it's beautiful. Like, there's a newness and a glow to it that's incredible. It's magical. It's really neat to watch.
It's my wife was supposed to go this last year, but with COVID, of course. So she did the version online and said it was amazing. Yeah. I said, but you are going when it's in person. I said, because you don't. You do, but you don't. When you walk on coals, when you do that the first time, you come out, you think you can walk through a brick wall.
Yeah.
The metaphor, it's just amazing.
I started Liam John, which is one of my clothing companies, after Business Mastery. Like, because Business Mastery is a little bit more business oriented.
Yeah.
I mean, very much so, but there's still a lot of the element of the head game.
Yeah.
And I walked out of there with enough confidence, like you said, I could have run through a wall. Instead, I built a company. And I was like, man, this is fantastic. So,
mate, look at it retail now. I mean, you train corporate, you change professional people. If someone's starting a business now, post-COVID, what are the most important things they need to look for? And how do they brand themselves in a world now that has gone a lot more digital, a lot more online, but is still crying out for that one-on-one contact around when they're buying something?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'll kind of break it down to a couple things. The first thing is, if you look at a lot of the companies that started online prior to COVID and now coming out of COVID, a lot of those online platforms or businesses are going into some type of brick and mortar retail to complement their online presence. And then you're also seeing, prior to COVID, one of our companies was nothing but brick and mortar retail. We were forced to shut down for a short amount of time. We started selling cotton face masks and immediately built a website, sold 10,000 plus face masks online. And so now it's like, okay, what else is possible from scale and reach of online? So I think you're going to see people that started in one space or the other, and you're going to see an expansion into the other one due to COVID. And I think it's fantastic. I think that in either scenario, it's all about experience. When we talk about branding and if I were consulting someone, if you're not leveraging the power of a website to create an experience with a potential customer before they ever step into your storefront, then you're leaving a tremendous amount of opportunity on the table. And then I think the quality interaction of face-to-face, in-person, touch, feel, smell, utilizing the five senses, those opportunities are so impactful that you can win customers' loyalty at such a fast rate if you dial it in. And if you do a poor job of it, you will repel business so fast your head will spin. So I think that the key moments when you come into physical contact with people, you got to be on your A game.
Mate, what are the four most important things people need to cover in a business when it comes to branding? Especially a male skewed business, say.
I think the first thing is your message. And when I say message is why are you in business? Like, what is your purpose? And your entire company needs to know that, and the marketplace needs to know that. If you're not clear on that, I sell clothes. Why do I sell clothes? Because I want to see men feel more confident in their clothes. That leads to better marriages, to better relationships, bigger sales, more income. Why? Because I give a damn. And that's what I care about. And everybody in my company knows that. And if you're not aligned with that, then you don't really belong in our company. So that's number one. So strong messaging is very important. The reason why we're in business. The second thing is this commitment to the customer from a very servant mindset. Like, if someone's paying you in exchange for your services, your product, whatever, they're trusting you. And you're not, maybe I'm a good old Southern boy from South Carolina, but you're not supposed to lie and take advantage of that. That's someone's trust, and you never want to breach that. So if you screw up, own it, fix it, make it right. If you're sitting down with a prospect and they're not a good fit for you, tell them that they're not a good fit for you, because you're not going to be able to serve them the right way.
How true. Not enough people do that.
No. And it's so disarming. And so, like, everybody's somebody's someone. Let's say that again. Everybody is somebody's someone. I'll never forget this one guy is not a very good prospect for me. And I said, hey, look, Richard, with all due respect, you're a wonderful guy, but there are other places where you can get what you're looking for that'll be a better solution. He referred to me one of the biggest clients I've ever had to date, because he said, Vaughn, no one else has ever been that honest with me. That's key. So there's that trust obligation. You got to hire people that have integrity. I think the third one is really this concept of building a team, right? So especially with the digital age, there's so many people that can build, what do they like to call it? The solopreneur, the one man army, the one woman army. I don't care if you use subcontractors, if you contract out work, if you have fractional employees, whatever. You got to understand, you're going to be limited to such a small impact on the world, which goes back to kind of the servant mindset, if it's just you, right? It doesn't mean that you have to have a big payroll, a lot of people. It just means you've got to build a team. And I think that kind of leads to the fourth one. If you're leading people, so if you're a manager, if you're a business owner, you've got to figure out how to provide opportunities for the winners on your team. Like that, they're your number one client. Like, yeah, you're serving the marketplace, but the truth of the matter is you've got to figure out, and that's one of the things that I think a lot of CEOs underestimate is, how do you put the right people in the right seat to align to who they really are?
Yes.
And build the processes and support of teamwork. It's almost like a really cool puzzle or chess game, and figuring out who are those pieces, what does the team need to create something that's much greater as a whole than any of the individual pieces added together. So those four pieces, in my opinion, I mean, if you do that, like, because you have an obligation to the client, you'll never have a crap product or an inferior product. You're always going to provide more value than what you're taking in exchange money wise. Your people will stay on board. You'll have a real purpose. You know, in the States, everybody's complaining about not being able to find staff and help. Same
in Australia, man.
I hired, let's see, in the last month, we've hired 4 people that are about to wrap up college and are very excited to come work for us, because we strongly believe in our reason why. And they see the growth opportunities that they can't get here fast enough. But it's not because we sell nice. I mean, it is because we sell nice clothes, but the reason why we sell nice clothes is why they want to be a part of the team. So, I mean, I think if you do that, you never have to worry about some of the stuff that these other companies are worrying about.
Yeah, mate, that's awesome. And before we get on to personal brand, I'm going to ask you, I was on your website.
Yeah.
Yours is a very different website. And I love it.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Which one?
It was VaughnsGranger.com.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll put the link in the show notes for people. Because everyone goes to stock standard website. You got a little menu list, you got this, you got that.
Yeah.
No. Yours is so different. And it is classy. And you can't find anything. It makes you go through the bloody thing. But I'm saying this in a nice way. It engages you as soon as you open. How did you come to something that is to me, it's a game changer in how websites should be for what your business is?
Well, I've actually never had anyone ask me that question, so I appreciate it. I actually designed the website. Yeah. I'm kind of a geek. I'm a what I call a shadow geek, right? So I geek out, nobody knows about it.
You don't look like a geek in the stereotype.
No, but I'll sit there, and so I bet you I've redone that website 100 different times over the course of 10 years. But I just use it as a playground. And I don't know if you found the blog on there, but I'll post articles. I call them articles. I had somebody recently say they're not articles, they're opinions. I was like, that's whatever. Your opinion. Whatever. Yeah. I like my articles. It makes me feel smart. But no, I love it. And like the space I work in of men's clothing is fun. I like this is gonna sound weird. I like to make things look pretty. And create experience, right? So like I like to rearrange the furniture in my house, and I like to buy my wife clothes, and I like when I plate a meal, I want it to be attractive and look as good as it's going to taste. I just take pride in creating experiences, and I think like visually it's so easy to do. And I think, like if I had $0 and was starting all over again, the first thing I would do is build a website that, created that feel. Because like we just built a new store, and I say it feels like warm and sunny, because like when you walk in, it's bright and the pretty colors, and you feel like you're at the beach. And so when I designed it, I just was like, I want something that kind of creates a stir in you, and from there we went.
Mate, I'm going to get now onto which is the final topic of today, is personal branding.
Yeah.
I know when I go into town in Sydney, so I live an hour outside of Sydney, unless you go into a high-end store, you got to pick your clothes yourself. So unless you're going for $1,000 suit or something up that end, and you go into, well, we have two main stores as in department stores in Sydney called Grace Brothers and David Jones. Their top level is very nice. The guys are very attentive. They're on commission as well. So, and some of them have, what they do is all the different brands own their little spot on the floor, and they earn their money. And I remember going in there one day, and a lot of the younger staff won't talk to older people. For some reason, they think we don't want to dress nice, but we've got more money than most of their friends put together. Yeah. And there was this one guy and this one brand, and I didn't even know the brand. It was Italian. And he nailed it. And he sold me one of the most expensive pairs of shoes I've ever done. But he made me that I felt wanted. I felt attended to. Him and my wife and I were there, and he picked a really nice pair of shoes that matched. Even my wife went, yes, straight up. But he knew his stuff. And he was a cut above most of the other guys and ladies on the floor. He knew about personal branding. If you met him, you'd say, can you come and work for me? He's the type of guy that'll fit you. A couple of things. Why is it, and how can a male pay more attention to how they look and how they dress and dressing for the right situation? I call it lazy. They forget that. One of my favorite quotes is, you are the opening of your own play. In other words, you are the first act. You walk in a room, people look at you straight away if they don't know you, and they up and down, straight up, and they make their mind up before even you've spoken a word.
Without question.
So what do you do when a guy walks into your store? He's dressed like a bum, and he says, man, I need to change my image.
Yeah.
I need to lift my game. How do you approach someone like that? Because a lot of us, we don't know what we're doing.
No, and I think there's two ways to answer that question. If you're a guy seeking help, the first thing that I would recommend is when you walk into an establishment, if they're a credible establishment, is just be open and honest with them and say, Robert, I'm trying to step up my game, my own personal image, and I don't really know where to start. And I'm looking to build a relationship with someone I trust. If you have on the other end of that conversation someone that genuinely gives a damn, like the young man that you're talking about, that individual will put more of a burden on their shoulders to make sure that you're getting the right stuff than you ever could imagine. That's what I'm going to call it a salesperson, but that's what a really good consultant will do. On the flip side of that, the way that we do it is when you walk in, we will not ask you, what are you looking for? Or, what can we help you with? Because you're going to say, I'm just looking. Correct. So the first thing I do is, hey, welcome. First time in? If it's yes, it's like, great, glad to have you back. And if they're like, no, it's like, well, perfect. Would you like the guided tour, or would you just like to take a gander? Yeah. And it just kind of breaks the ice. But from there, the process goes back to a lot of the coaching stuff. So if say you and I had an appointment, you came in and I was going to counsel you on your personal image. The first thing that I'm going to do is and we have a process for this, but I'm going to take you through a list of questions. What do you do for fun? What are you trying to accomplish in business? Who are you calling on? We deal with a lot of business owners and salespeople. They work a lot. They also have very dynamic lifestyles. So they'll leave work and they'll go out to dinner with their wife or go to the bar with clients or whatever it is. And they don't want to look like the guy that just took the tie off. So we start to figure out what their lifestyle is. Yeah. And we basically create a style dossier, because most people have an idea of what they want to look like, and by the time you figure out where they live, what do they do for fun, what's their business, what kind of car do they drive, you can kind of start to see how they see themselves. And then from there, you figure out what they have in their closet. Most guys' closets this big, they wear a 20% of it over and over again. The other stuff collects dust in the back. And we're like, all right, why? Let's duplicate the success and let's get rid of the stuff that hasn't worked and figure out why. Yeah. And then most guys are just uncomfortable putting stuff together. So, if you really have got someone that's good at that, they're going to show you how to wear your clothes. Because at the end of the day, if I go away for 3 or 4 days on business and I want to just carry on, the last thing any man wants to do is walk out of the closet or walk into the restaurant and their significant other be like, "You're going to really wear that?" And it's like, oh shit. You got a little, a little lack of confidence. But most guys just let their ego get in the way. But the truth of the matter is, it's just like we're all in, everyone, if you're good at what you do, you're an expert in your field and you hire other experts to handle what they're really, really good at. What I would suggest is find you, just find you someone like me or one of our team members that you can build a rapport with, just like you would your barber or your accountant or, someone that you say, "Hey, look, I'm going to let you be the expert and I'm going to give you my honest feedback. What do I like? What I not like?" And then just develop it over time. Some of my best clients live hundreds and hundreds of miles away. I've only met them in person once or twice, and I've been dressing them for 10 years. And I just put together stuff and send it to them, and it fits them perfectly, and show them how to wear it and send them pictures. I mean, it's just another relationship.
I heard someone say one day to me, actually, when I was coaching them for my sales business, and said, "I dress to match what my customers expect me to look like. I don't dress to be me."
I think that's a terrible idea.
Thank you. I thought I was wrong, but now you've actually backed me up for it. I just looked at it and went, no.
Why would you? I mean,
true. Hand on heart. That's what he said to me.
Yeah. I mean, look, if our clients knew how to do our job, then they don't need to hire us. If they know, I mean, that's like me going to a heart surgeon and saying, "Hey, doc, I think you need to do X, Y, and Z to my heart, make me feel better." I don't have any grounds to say that. And if I did, I wouldn't be talking to him. So, I mean, I don't need my clients to tell me how to dress. You don't need your clients to tell you how to dress. You want to walk in and create a brand. I mean, I love working with like interior decorators, graphic design people, because they're artists, right? And they're all a little bit eccentric. And I think they create credibility because of their authenticity when they show up and what makes them feel confident. And like, I was an ex-athlete. Like, when you have on a good uniform, you play better.
Yes.
That's all we're doing. I need to be very confident so that I'm focused on serving you and not, "Oh God, do I look good?" That lack of confidence when you don't feel comfortable in what you're wearing sucks.
Oh man. So I've seen it, and where people are forced to, because they think they've got to wear a suit to a wedding, and they don't wear suits, and the tie's not done up. I'm sitting there going, "Guys, you just get rid of the tie, wear a open neck shirt with a jacket, tuck it in." But you don't need to wear a tie if you don't wear one. A tradie doesn't wear ties unless they want to.
Well, and you can, I mean, so there are two examples of that I think that anyone listening can understand. Number one, like you said, you can tell when people's clothes are wearing them.
Yes.
Number one, as opposed to them wearing their clothes. And then secondly, if you've ever seen a female have on an outfit and then she puts on one pair of shoes and she's like, I don't know, she's at like a 5 or a 6 in terms of feeling it. And then she puts on the ones that like they nailed it. She changes her entire demeanor. Like, that's the power of clothes. You think about Hollywood or any kind of theater and costumes. Our clothes are costumes. They can create state changes very quickly for
Love
you.
it.
I mean, that's a Tony Robbins thing, right? Like,
no, it's
change,
the truth.
and it's like, let me put on this outfit. I feel like a badass in it.
Oh man, that is so true, so true. Before we wind up, I'm going to ask you a couple of things. When you're setting up a bricks and mortar store and you've got an empty shell, what does Vaughn look for before anything starts in his mind on how he's going to design that store?
The first thing that goes into mind is, who needs my help? Yep. That's the very first thing. And then the second thing I always do from there is I get someone that, because I'm not an artist at all.
Yeah.
I and I'm highly visual. So I like to talk through what I see the space like, but then I immediately hire a professional to take my words and my feelings and put them to paper.
Yes.
And then from there, I can make edits in a way that someone could actually execute on. But that's what I look at. You know, I mean, obviously before I go into space, I'm looking at number of like the traffic, like again, the purpose of it. So if I'm doing a smaller footprint, custom brick and mortar, this one will operate more like an appointment only. It's going to be a very intimate feeling, probably tucked away from a high traffic area. Whereas if I'm looking for more of a traditional retail setting, you know, I'm looking at, do I need to be in gray A real estate, or can I be in B? Who are my neighbors? Where can I create synergy across their customer base? So like, I mean, that one's huge. Proximity matters, you know, again, not to reference Tony Robbins too much, but he talks about that a lot.
Yeah.
Be around other stores that complement, that you can share a customer base, because you can add value to that center, to your neighbors.
So here's a couple of ones. What's the future of men's business wear going to look like? What is going to be the next trend you see coming through for people to be wearing?
I think what most people would coin business casual, right?
Yeah.
So like most guys, t-shirt, blue jeans, t-shirt, shorts is like, they understand that. And I think suits are the easy uniform play, if you will.
Yeah.
But the business casual is a much more dynamic space. I think that's what you're going to see a lot of.
Yep.
And I think it's the most challenging for most guys to navigate. But like right now, the other day I showed up to a meeting. Guy had on a suit and tie. He looked completely out of place.
Yes.
And it was almost, I would have never said this in the past, I don't think, but he was inappropriately dressed for the occasion.
Yeah.
And not in a good way. And you could tell that it made other people uncomfortable and himself uncomfortable. So I think that in-between land of business casual is what you're going to really see for guys.
So what are your brands? What's the name of your brands, of your stores, and the clothes that you sell in the States?
So we have two brick and mortar operations. One's called Liam John USA. It's named after my son. Most scariest thing I've ever done is have a third child. Second scariest thing I've ever done is start a business, like a real like inventory business from scratch. So yes. I named them the same thing. And then Granger Owings. So we do a lot of our own manufacturing. And then on top of that, we carry Johnny O, which is a casual, like West Coast brand. We did a nice partnership with Liam John there. We carry Peter Millar, Courtney Leoni. Let's see. I'm trying to think of brands at all. Alden Shoes. We just a name brand. We used to be like a big Polo, Ralph Lauren account, but that's changed. They just don't have as much cool stuff. But and a lot of casual wear now. So
yeah, awesome. And where can people find you? If they want to get touch base and say good day and maybe get a bit of coaching or look at your stores, because I have interviewed a lady who's done something very similar over here called Tara Solberg, and on homewares, as in styling and all that, and her stores are very, from what I'm envisaging of yours, different. They don't carry the normal stuff. So
so I'm most active on Instagram at Vaughn Granger, and then at Liam John USA. Those are the two big ones. But Instagram, I love photos. They're worth 1,000 words. You can see behind the scenes on our travels, sourcing fabrics, and you'll hear me rip from time to time on a topic or two. And I actually check my DMs. So if you got a message and want to reach out, I spend most of my time there, quite frankly. And
mate, I'm going to throw it to you. You got two people, anyone in the world, I'm going to say today, alive, and you can sit down and, what we say in Australia, have a schnitty and a beer.
Yeah.
Over lunch somewhere in a pub. Who would you invite? And you can't say your childhood sweetheart or your parents.
No, I won't.
Who would you love to sit down? And it doesn't matter if you like them or not, but you just love to have a chat.
Oh, man, that's a great question. Let me think. Two people that have to be alive to have a chat.
I love doing this to my guests because the ones that are listening can't see the look on their face as they go into panic mode.
Yeah, now I'm sitting here trying to think. I would definitely have to. So Ralph Lauren,
yes,
like the actual man, whatever his real name is, I forget. But he started from as a tie company and then built Ralph Lauren, the $1 billion brand. And that's pretty damn incredible. And I would have to say, like, probably Elon Musk. I mean, you talk about somebody that's on a spectrum of sorts. Like, I don't know if I like the guy, I don't like the guy, but that guy is so creative and has stayed so committed to his vision.
Yeah.
I mean, that dude's on a whole different level. I don't know if I would have anything to really talk to him about, but I damn sure would like to try. I mean, those would probably be two people from a business perspective that I'm just like, wow, I'd love to pick your brain. Tony Robbins, I would love to meet in person. He's
yeah.
I mean,
you got to get close enough to him.
He can't get near gosh, dude, he's huge.
But you send the security that surrounds him.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible. Anyway, that's for a different day. But no, he's you asked for two, I gave you three, but they're my answers,
mate. That's why I would expect no less. I really, really wouldn't.
Mate, before
we wind up, if you got a final message that you would give guys out there when it comes to personal branding that they really need to listen to, or a rule that you live by when it comes to personal branding?
Mm-hmm. I would say, don't be like, first off, you're going to make a mistake. I don't care if you're talking about business, your branding, you're going to step on someone's toes. Yes. If you're not stepping on someone's toes, you're not doing a good job. That doesn't mean that you need to be contrarian for the sake of being contrarian. You need to be passionate enough about your truth that it makes some people uncomfortable, including yourself. And that would be for personal branding. That would be my message.
Awesome, mate.
All right, my friend.
Mate, it has been an absolute pleasure listening to you today. You're the first male clothing haberdasher I've ever had on the show. You're not going to be the last. Awesome. I love it. And what we say at the end of all of our podcasts is have a groovy day.